Hi, welcome to today's class on strength in the midst of battle. Man, it doesn't matter what your life journey looks like, I am certain that you are all too familiar with the battle. And I'm so thankful for your commitment to being part of Single Mom University and what God is going to do in and through you as you commit to taking these classes. You know, when I think about strength in the battle, I think about how do you have the strength to move on when everything inside you wants to quit? How do you have the strength to continue to press through whenever you've been hurt and disappointed and abused and broken? How do you continue to parent those kiddos well whenever you feel like you can barely get up in the morning because you're so depressed? Today, we're going to talk about what it is to have true strength in the middle of the battle. And I'll tell you today that strength is not about your battle today. Strength is about what you do while you're in the battle. And so it doesn't matter what you're facing, it doesn't matter how hard, it doesn't matter how big the mountain is. I am here to tell you that your battle is an opportunity to bring God glory. Your battle is about God showing up in your life and showing out. You know, all of us love the idea of being able to have a miracle. We love the idea of being able to witness God do something amazing in our lives. The problem is that most of us don't want to be in the position to have God to do something amazing in our lives. We don't want to have to be in the middle of the valley. And so today we're going to talk about what it is to have strength in the middle of our battle, what it is to have strength whenever you feel like quitting, what it is to have strength whenever everything in you says to give up. And there's some key things that I have learned in the middle of my own battles that I'd like to share with you today. And the first one is strength is about pushing through when everything else in you says quit. You know, I remember thinking about the hardest of times in my life, and there have been so many of those, but I'm reminded about whenever my son was a teenager. And we were going through difficult times with with parenting and wondering whether or not we were making the right decisions and whether or not we were doing the right thing for him and equipping him for his next season of life, which would have been college and then beyond. And everything in me wanted to quit. The crazy thing about that journey was that I was in the middle of writing parenting books. I was in the middle of going and speaking in churches and telling other women how to parent their kiddos when inside me I felt like a failure and I wanted to quit. I can remember planning our first National Single Moms Conference several years ago, and it was so exciting, and it was such a great opportunity as single moms flew in from all over the country. But we faced one obstacle after another after another. And that evening, whenever we started that first night and we began the praise and worship, there was something in me that was so weary, and all I wanted to do was quit. But there was something deep inside me, something at the depths of my soul that told me to press in and press through. And I don't know if you're at that place today and everything in you wants to quit. I want to encourage you to press through, to continue to push through, because there's something on the other side. There will be a break, there will be a breakthrough, and there'll be something on the other side. The second thing is that strength is developed through hardship. Now, guys, this isn't a super popular thing to say. When I think about some of the strongest women that I know in the physical sense, I'm reminded of my friend Dory. And Dory is actually an instructor in Single Mom University, and she's the mother of 9 children. And Dory is in her 50s. She is absolutely beautiful, and she is in pristine physical condition. And I think about how Dory will be on her elbows, and she'll hold that plank position for what seems like an endless period of time. And I think about how she can do sit-ups one after another, and push-ups. And like I can barely do 10, and Dory can do up to 100 push-ups. It's crazy to me how strong she is. But I would be ignorant to think that she just woke up one morning and she was that strong physically. And the same way that she has trained her physical body to be in pristine condition is the same way that all of us have to train our spiritual bodies. It's the same way that we all have to begin to train. When we're in the midst of hardship, that's where our strength is developed. That's when we really determine who we're made of. When we're in the midst of not seeing God in any way, like we don't look left and look right and see His blessings all all over our lives. We wonder sometimes, even in the midst of that valley, is God here? Does he see me? Does he understand how hard this battle is? That's when we truly have testimonies about the goodness of God. That's when we understand how strong our walk is with the Lord. And so strength is truly developed in the midst of your hardship. So remember that as you're going through the battle today. And maybe you're not in the midst of facing a battle, but you one day will be, and you'll need to be reminded that this is where your strength is going to be. The next thing is that the strength that you possess is about who possesses you. That's good news for you this day, to be reminded that it's not about how strong you are. It's about the joy of the Lord that is your strength. And he owns everything. He is the creator of everything. He is in complete control of your life. So you don't have to worry about how strong you actually are. You just be reminded that he possesses you. And because he does, and because you belong to him, victory is already promised to you. And I have to stop and say this to you. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter right now if you feel defeated on all sides, surrounded by the enemy on all sides. It does not matter. Victory is already promised to you. And so you need to be reminded in the middle of your battle that in order to have strength in the midst of that battle, that you know that the Lord possesses you, that he is in control. And so there's no reason to fret or worry, because he is going to be able to see you through to the other side. It's not by our strength or by our might, but it's by the Spirit of the Lord. It is so important that we remind ourselves of that. Sometimes you're running on a hamster wheel and you're running as fast as you can, and you're trying to do it as strong as you can, but you don't see any fruits of your labor. You don't see results of what you're trying to do. Be reminded that it's by his Spirit. And because his Spirit lives on the inside of you, and because the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is on the inside of you, you are going to be successful. You know, strength doesn't always look like we think that it should. You know, I can think about the many times in my life when I prayed prayers that God would show up in my life. And when I was living in government housing on food stamps and welfare, I would often pray prayers that God would somehow show up and pay my light bill, or that somehow I'd have a little bit of extra money for Christmas. And the truth of the matter is that my prayers were not near big enough. God had a plan for me on the other side of my battle that was far bigger than anything I could have thought or imagined. But my mind was not at a place where I could even ask him for that thing. And I want you to know that in the middle of your battle right now, that the results of that battle, the strength that you're going to need, the victory that's on the other side will probably not look like you think that it's going to. And that's okay, because God's plans for our life are always far bigger than we could plan for our own. You know, I'm reminded of this story, I think it's in Luke 7, 1 through 10, about the dying slave, and how as he was dying, the Roman officer sent for Jesus to come and to heal his slave. And in the midst of this story, and in the midst of Jesus being en route, he was stopped. And the soldier sent and said, "No, I'm not even worthy for you to come to my house. Just say the word, Lord. Just say the word and he will be healed." And of course, this is the Jennifer Maggio translation of that story. You can go and read the details of the story. But when I'm reminded of what happened there, I don't think that day that the healing took place in the same way that he thought. I'm sure that at some point, maybe he thought Jesus would come and lay hands on him, or maybe Jesus would speak to the dying soldier and say, "Rise," or there would be some type of pomp and circumstance. But it was the faith that he had that healed him. And I say that to you to simply say, it will be your faith in the middle of your battle that will heal your circumstances. It will be the faith that will rise up, that will show you that God is faithful, that he is good, that he has seen you through some things in your past, and he's going to see you through this thing, whatever it is. In the middle of battles, sometimes what I have to remind myself is the same God that rescued me from that thing will be the same God that rescues me from this thing. And it may, I want to have a crystal ball to say, when is this going to be over? And it may be that it won't end in the season that I think that it should, or in the timing that I think that it should. But I know that God's timing is perfect. And the things that I have learned in the middle of my battles are things that have carried me through this ministry, that have carried me through my single mom journey, that have carried me through my parenting journey, and I wouldn't have learned them any other way. So in conclusion, I want to say this to you. When you walk with the authority that Jesus paid for you to have, you can face any battle. And I want you to be reminded today that you do have the strength to make it through your battle. You do have everything you need to make it through your battle. You need to be reminded of where God's brought you from. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're not where you once were. And so be reminded, be filled with gratitude, be in prayer and perseverance, build your strength in this time, because there's going to be a single mama somewhere along your journey, maybe tomorrow, maybe years to come, that's going to need to hear everything that God did for you in the middle of this battle that you're going through right now. So be encouraged this day that you're right where you're supposed to be, that God is still in control. There's no reason to worry or fret. He is going to see you through. Thank you so much for being part of Single Mom University, and thank you for joining us for today's lesson on strength in the middle of your battle.